Well, when you have seedlings, one of the things that you'll have to deal with sooner or later is what we call up potting. That simply means taking the seedling that has gotten started and has a good root system developed and putting it into a larger space so it can develop even more roots, become larger, more healthy as you move towards ultimately transplanting it in the garden. As you're preparing to up pot your plant, you really only need a few things. One is, of course, your plant, your seedling that you've been growing. So you're gonna have something like these guys, or maybe something like these guys going on. And you'll need a larger container that you're going to up pot them to. It may be something like this, which is a 3.5-inch pot. It could be larger. Typically not smaller than a 3.5 as far as up potting. But the whole goal is simply to give it more space so you have a better root system so that when it comes time for it to be actually transplanted into the ground or the container, as the case may be, it's ready to fully take advantage of the weather. Well, let's get to up potting some of our tomato plants. So the cool thing about tomato plants and up potting them is a little bit unique from some of the other plants, is if you take a close look here, you can see those hairs that are on the tomato plant stalk. What those are, more or less, is those are little hairs that can easily become roots if they are in contact with the soil. And so what we're actually going to do is we're going to bury this a little bit deeper than it currently is, and that's good to do with the tomato. It simply makes it stronger, gives it more roots because it's growing out from the stem in even more places. So you're going to see that when I put this in our pot, top pot, it's probably going to end up about this deep. If I was putting it in a pot where it was big enough, I would even run it all the way up to being buried this deep. But we won't be able to do that with this pot. So let's go ahead and see what this takes, what it looks like. The same as with when you do your seed starting package, you want to make sure that when you throw in your first batch that you kind of push it down a little bit. The reason is again, you don't want air pockets. At that point, we've got, you take out your transplant that you're wanting to up pot. See them? If the roots are kind of, and this guy's looking pretty good, if the roots are kind of bound up a little bit, you might want to tease these up a little bit. Sometimes a lot of gardeners will do that. And it goes like this, and then I will just fill around it with this potting mix and pack it in good around the corners. Again, you want to avoid air. Air pockets don't do anything good for you. And so I like to pack it in there good, make sure it's covered well. And again, on the tomatoes, I'll go right up to the top. Not worried about it being up over the soil line previously, because as I said, it will grow roots from all around the spot where it's in touch with the soil. So right here, got a nice little guy. You notice it's up a little bit. I'm not too worried about that. This soil always will drop a little bit in its level when it gets more moisture in it. So here we go. Or Rucker, stick his deal back there. In case you're wondering, why is there two plants, John? There's actually a couple reasons. I always plant a couple of seeds so I don't have a wasted cell for germination in case one doesn't grow. And then I will usually let these grow for a while until I determine which one seems to be the strongest, and I will then chop off the less strong one and let it go from there. I probably will do that just before I transplant, actually, on this guy. So all right, so as you can see, we got this guy potted up, and he is now ready to grow all kinds more roots down in here so that when it is time for him to actually be transplanted, he will be ready to hit the ground running. Now, when I do this, and I've mentioned in some of my other videos, I've talked about bottom watering, so you'll notice that on this, there's a bunch of holes in the bottom. In fact, you'll probably see that in most of your the things you'll get from nurseries and whatnot. The reason is that they generally practice what's called bottom watering. Bottom watering does a number of things for you. Number one, it's not as messy, but primarily it helps keep your plants disease-free and all that kind of stuff, because you're not splashing anything on top of the soil, the dirt, to get up onto the plant. So that's part of the idea. I like it because it just allows you to make sure everything's watered evenly. So I'm going to show you a little bit what that looks like, because as you finish your transplant, the next thing they need is water. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So here you see the plants are in this container. This is a 10 by 20 plastic container. There's no holes in the bottom. What you're able to do is just put some water in there, and then the plants from the bottom just pull the water into the soil there, and they're good to go that way. Not everybody has one of these, and that's okay. You can buy these. You'll see them at various price points and various conditions as far as how heavy this stuff is. Like, you couldn't grab this particular tray and just carry it with one hand. It would just break in half. But you may not have one of these, and my point is that if you don't have one of these, you might use something like a Pyrex casserole dish, or anything that can hold water in the bottom for you just to simply set your plants in like that. And that can do the trick for you for the bottom water. You don't have to necessarily have this special equipment that is for that. So again, up potting is not something, again, to be intimidated by. You're not going to kill all your plants if you take them out of the little 6 cells and up pot them. If you're even a little bit careful, they will do great. And you will actually find in fairly short order, particularly if your little guys have started to look a little bit like this, you'll see them snap back to some really good health. Because what this can mean sometimes is, hey, it's going, hey, I don't have enough room to breathe and eat and all that kind of stuff. Give me a bigger room. And so so when you do that, when you up pot, you can actually help your plant tremendously. And so I want to encourage you, don't be afraid of these things. Give them a try, see what you learn, and maybe even just comment, share what you've learned today, or even along your overall journey as you're gardening. Thanks, and we'll talk to you again soon.